of 3D Musketeers LLC. He has experience in rapid prototyping. He's also a fellow alum from St. Leo University. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Grant Posner. You can go ahead and tell us about yourself and we'll get started. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I would say it's a sunny day here, but I'm in Florida, so it's past sunset. So it's a little dark. It is still incredibly hot, and I know you all are feeling the pain too. So thank you all for coming out. Hopefully everyone is staying nice and chilly out there. We're going to be talking all about inventing and demystifying that process. For those that have gone through it or maybe thought about it, you realize that there's a lot of information in the beginning and a fair bit at the end. That whole middle part's kind of missing. And whether that is CAD, prototyping, getting your product sold, because, you know, inventing's great, but you got to make money doing it. I'm hoping that we can shine some light in that dark chasm that is inventing and product development. Feel free at any time to stop me if you have a question. If you want to unmute yourself, you can. If you prefer to put it in the chat, that's fine. I'll do my best to monitor it. But as you'll find out, I go on to rants. It's character. For those that don't know, I do have a YouTube channel. So if you are looking to learn more in depth about 3D printing, rapid prototyping, we make 5 videos a week, as well as a live podcast. So it's a thing. But let's get into, you know, the meat and potatoes of why everybody's here. Let's talk about this inventing process. And give me just a second. I got to move everybody around. I got to bring the chat back up. Thank you. Okay. So inventing. Okay. And then a lot of these sizzle reels that we just saw were inventing products, right? We had the vest with the tactile transducers in it, the Vibe vest or the Vibe jacket. We had the generator that, you know, uses water current. All of those require some level of prototyping before you're ready to get into it. And if you don't have the right people behind you assisting you, this can be astronomically scary. And it's okay. It's kind of supposed to be. Let's get into it because it's not as hard as you think, but it totally could be. The big thing to start off with here in big bold letters is that your ideas are worthless unless you execute. That's the big deal. This isn't the early 2000s anymore. No one's going to pay you $1 million+ for your idea if you can't prove it works. Caveat crypto, but even that is having a hard time these days. And it's about execution. I've interviewed some world-class inventors. The inventor of the Rainbow Loom, which was Toy of the Year 2014 globally. And that man talks about how literally he was 2 days from failing. The mortgage was called on his house. He had to pay it. If the order didn't come in, it was over. He got lucky. I've talked with Lisa Lloyd, a Shark Tank winning inventor, who actually ended up failing from the Shark Tank experience. There's a lot there that can work against you. And if you don't execute, that idea ultimately not worth a whole lot. But we got to figure out, well, who the heck am I? I'm just some random guy in Florida, your Florida man, if you will, talking to you about the stuff on the table there. What you see is the better 3/4. This is Amber. She's an ICU nurse. She helps people. I make plastic stuff. Who's better? It's not me. And you can see that we have some 3D printers, some 3D scanners, and a metric load 3D prints. This was at Synapse Summit here in Tampa where we were sponsored to get in a booth, and I was told, show up and have fun or don't show up at all. So I brought out $80,000 plus of equipment and decided just to have fun the entire day. I specialize in rapid prototyping and product development. I've been doing it for 14 years as a hobby, 10 years professionally. And we've helped bring products to market that are on store shelves today, ones that are on Amazon, ones that have had successful and less than successful experiences on Shark Tank. I have 2 business degrees from St. Leo University, although realistically, it's not the degrees that matter. It's actually getting stuff done. College degrees are great. You get a little bit more money when you have them. But at the end of the day, results are what matter. We are a result-driven company. You can actually see here at the front of the table, this is one of our main product offerings, these vehicles. Those are scanned crashed cars for court. I can Rachel Ray it because I happen to have one already done with me. but we'll get into that a little bit later. The technology enables us to bring people's ideas to reality. That's what we do at 3D Musketeers. But really, the big thing here is, how the heck do you start, right? I want you to say it with me as if you're Shia LaBeouf and not violating a trademark and copyright by Nike, and it is just do it. Literally, just start. If you don't start somewhere, you're always going to wonder what if. And you might say, well, Grant, someone's going to steal my idea. Okay, so if someone does steal your idea, if nothing else, that validates the heck out of it. But that also means you didn't do a good job of protecting it. We're going to get into protection here in a little bit because, as your parents told you, protection's useful. You always want to write your ideas down. I find that particularly late at night and early morning is, for some reason, when I'm thinking of ideas the most. It's why I don't sleep much. Hi to fellow ADHDers out there. And always have a notebook handy. Whether you got a junior legal pad laying around, you got one of those zebra notebooks that we all probably remember from when we were kids, whatever you might do, a Google Docs document is fine too. Start writing your ideas down and then start weeding through them. Remember, you don't always want this what if, what if, what if. If you keep living your life by what ifs, you're never going to get to, well, what's next? Because ifs mean nothing. Nothing. And then what you want to do is kind of dive into which ones make the most sense. Ultimately, some of those ideas are going to suck. And if they don't, reevaluate your target market, because sometimes they should. Bad ideas are common. We want you to have bad ideas. As they say at the REC Center, you want to fail fast, fail often. But I also say to fail forward. And if you think, well, Grant, big companies don't fail. They do. Go look at Apple's first logo and tell me they knew what their business was all about. It had Isaac Newton in it. And I'm not even kidding. You have to understand that there are basically three options here for your idea. Well, there's the fourth one, but the three that matter. Go to market, sell it, license it. The fourth one is do nothing. But if you wanted to do nothing with your idea, why are you wasting your time listening to me? Go to market is ostensibly the hardest thing that you can do, period. I literally just had on an IP attorney who works directly with inventors. And he said the day of the average self-made inventor is dead. The system is not designed to help you. The system is designed to keep you from succeeding. Going to market requires at minimum $100,000 of liquid cash that if you went and jokered it by pouring gas on it and lighting it on fire to prove a point, would not hurt you. That's why I always recommend when you're a first timer, sell it or license it, right? The Mr. Wonderful deal. You want that percentage for every sale in perpetuity, or get a nice lump of change up front so that when your next idea comes around and you are ready, you got the capital sitting by or the, reasonably guaranteed revenue to fund that go-to-market strategy now that you've kind of learned and earned a different way. So protection, right? We mentioned it a little bit before. You've got a few different types of patents, but the bulk of inventors don't even get that far. They want the NDA, all the things. Let me be clear with you. The vast majority of product development companies, spoiler alert, do not care about your product and are not going to care about it because it's not their job to care. It's their job to make it. That's what you're paying them for. You're not paying them to care. If you want a non-disclosure, ask for it. But if you ask for a non-compete and you get told where to go and where to shove it, don't feel bad because I'd tell you the same thing. I understand that people want their ideas protected. I'm all about making sure your ideas are protected. But don't put people under undue stress. Like, don't make me sign an NDA before I meet with you because I'm not going to. Because I don't know what your product is. What if talking to you violates another NDA that I have? Now I have two conflicting NDAs, and both parties must be alerted to the fact that we have an issue. This has actually happened. It's why I don't accept outside NDAs. We have a pre-signed one on our website if you want to see what I think and what my lawyer thinks happens to be a pretty good non-disclosure. But non-disclosures, like patents, are only as good as the paper they're printed on. If you can't protect it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your name is, jabroni, if you cannot succeed in defending it. A patent. You have design, utility, and plant. Plant patents are not going to matter for the vast majority of inventors. Yes, it's the green things that stick out of the ground. You can actually patent a plant. You come up with a new plant, new species, whatever, you can patent it. Vast majority of you are going to be looking at design and utility patents. Those go for roughly 22 years if you keep them up after the date of filing. Sometimes you're lucky and you get it after the date of approval, sometimes after the date of filing. It depends on the examiner. Some days you might just get a crappy examiner and they're going to kick it back to you and say, no, just wait till tomorrow and resubmit it. Works every time. But to start this level of protection, provisionals, a PPA, provisional patent application, you can actually do yourself. Now, do you want to? Well, that's between you and yours. I don't know. You decide that one. You can file them for as little as $75 with the USPTO. So uspto.gov, maybe it's .org. I don't know off the top of my head. Probably should know it, but I don't because I have attorneys for this. You can file that PPA, and the date that it is filed, you have 12 months to file an official patent, which is a design or utility patent or a plant patent. And at that point, instead of your filing date be the date that you filed your real patent, it becomes the date that you filed your provisional. Now, here in Florida, it's a first to file state. So they who first file is the one that wins, or the one that has the most money. Normally, it's the second one, unfortunately. Understand that patents are very, very, very specific. We have an entire team of lawyers that don't kick anything back to me. I just send people to them. Everything from the slightly eccentric individual that's going to talk your brain off, and no, that's not me. I am also eccentric and will talk your brain off, but I am not an attorney. All the way to the New York guy who looks a lot tougher than he actually is. The man's a venerable teddy bear, but he charges out the wazoo because he's good at what he does. For some, it's worth it. You have to decide of how much hand-holding do you want, how much time are you willing to do, and find a happy medium where it works out for you. There are 3 characteristics that are required for a patent according to the USPTO. And again, this is all about the people in the USPTO. It must be novel, unique, and non-obvious. And if you don't have all 3 of those things, you, my friend, do not have a patent. You have an idea that you've just put out into public domain. Understand that as soon as you file a patent, a real patent, not a provisional, your drawings, your claims, all of that becomes public domain. So if somebody wanted to copy you, they could. And there's literally nothing stopping them other than the risk of being sued. But if you can't protect that patent, you can't take them to court and win, your patent will be invalidated. And then all you have is a nice shiny piece of paper on the wall that cost you $15,000, and you might cry yourself to sleep while hugging it. I wouldn't blame you. I firmly believe that the patent system is broken. So did this patent attorney. He said it's not designed for any of us small people to succeed. I believe that it's much better to get sales, prove your product works, and do that within the first 12 months so your PPA exists. And then file your patent with the money that you have made from your sales. Because then ultimately, what's the risk to you? If you lose profit, it was money you never had to begin with. You're already paying down your inventory costs, it's fine. That's how I see it. Now, if you do decide to license it or to sell it, you do need a patent because they're buying the rights to the patent. They don't care about your idea. They care about the claims in the patent. Now, you might find someone that says they care. I'm sorry, they might be lying to you. I never said I was going to beat around the bush. I am a no BS operator, and I wholeheartedly hope that people here appreciate that. I'm not here to waste people's time. If I was, I might call myself Invent Help. Ooh, yes, I will name and shame companies here. So what if someone copies me? Better call Saul. It's time to lawyer up. So let's talk about prototyping, because the lawyer stuff is honestly kind of sad. It hurts. It hurts my soul because it's expensive and it's nothing that I could even afford here. It's why I choose to keep my products either in trade secret, which is I don't tell anybody, or I open source them and say, if you want to copy it, go ahead. I don't care. You have to understand what your goals are. If you're going to go into prototyping and you want to go to market, the product that a rapid prototyping company or a product development company would make for you should be considerably different than one that would be sold or licensed. If it is going to be sold or licensed, it just needs to work as a prototype. If you want to go to market, the prototype that's created must also work to be injection molded. And injection molding is a whole different bag of chips. you deal with two kind of basic formats of manufacturing, which is additive and subtractive. What you see behind me in an actually real background, this is not fake. If it was fake, you would know it's not fake. This is additive manufacturing. These are computer-controlled hot glue guns. They are Prusa 3D printers. Highly recommend the brand if you're getting into 3D printing. They do not pay me to say that. I wish they did. Subtractive manufacturing is your traditional CNC mill, which is a drill attached to a machine that just hogs parts out. Subtractive is generally seen as the more wasteful, more expensive, more complicated process because, well, it is. 3D printing and additive manufacturing in general can be had for as low as $200 for an okay printer. I recommend Prusas. They start at $500. It's worth the upgrade, I promise. Subtractive manufacturing, one that's going to get the job done, is going to start at about $5,000 to $7,000 and will require you to learn pretty hardcore things. You also have to know about CAD, computer-aided design. My preference is Fusion 360. It's what actually we use here at 3D Musketeers. It is legally free. And if you have a student account, maybe you've got a EDU email address, you can get education licenses. Education licenses are fully unlocked. Now, they're not to be used for commercial purposes, but if you want to use them to learn, then buy a real license. It's only like $600 a year. And $600 a year for CAD software is nothing. SolidWorks is about $4,000. Those that don't know. But the big questions we get is how long should it take? How long should it cost? This is where I give the, answers that no one likes. Just like underwear for adults, it depends. It depends on how complicated your project is. There's a good buddy of mine in here. I'm going to call him out because I can pick on him because I know him. His name is Peter Sassman. He makes Scent VR. He makes a product that provides smell when you're in a VR atmosphere. It's actually pretty darn cool. It's been shown online as tech tips of all things. He's taken a very long time through multiple iterations to get it right. But because he's doing all the prototyping himself, he can take that kind of time. Those that are paying professionals to do it might opt to say, I'd rather pay you more money and get it done faster. Because remember, good, fast, cheap. Pick two. That's all you get. You don't get three. Can't have your cake and eat it too around here. So let's talk about the basis of 3D printing. There are two general types that you'll be dealing with. You have your FDM and your SLA, or MSLA. The printers behind me are FDM, or FFF, Fused Deposition Modeling, or Fused Filament Fabrication, FDM, FFF. They are computer-controlled hot glue guns. Literally take a hot glue gun, duct tape it to an Etch-a-Sketch, move it in the Z-axis as well, and you, my friend, have yourself a 3D freaking printer. MSLA is high detail resin, and you're able to do things like rings. You can do rings with the settings in them for diamonds and stones and all that already. Both of these printers can start as low as $200 or less for some resin printers. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say that resin is toxic. It is a thing on the YouTube channel. Go find a video. There's an animation that comes up. I can't do it live. I'm sorry. The technologies are actually relatively easy enough for you to do it yourself. However, if you don't have the time to tinker, spend on it, or if you make more than about $15 an hour in a day job, it's better to pay a professional. It's going to save you a bunch of time and a bunch of headache. Now, if you're that person that likes to screw around and learn, do it. It's a cheap investment into what is going to be the artist in your mind going insane for the things that you can create. There is so much about this industry. Everything from metal 3D printing, bio 3D printing, concrete 3D printing. And I can talk about any of those techs. I know a thing or two about the technology of 3D printing, not just the more affordable machines. I've recently ran a $400,000 metal 3D printer. You might say, Grant, that's a lot of money. No, that's actually one of the cheaper ones on the market. Most metal printers will end up in the 7-figure range pretty quickly. The company is local to me. They let me use their printers and they're going to train me how to do it. And we're going to make a whole YouTube series demystifying how to run $500,000 printers, which would be fun because that means Grant gets to use titanium 3D printers for a YouTube video. And if you want to know more, just ask. So it's time to get serious. There's a lot here. The prototyping stage is not a one and done. Expect this to be multiple iterations. Remember, fail fast, fail forward, and if you can afford it, fail often. Eventually, it becomes expensive to fail. But I get it. It happens. It's normal. It is what it is. And if you need to take more time, time is on your side. As long as you're not on a clock of some sort, if you don't have provisional that's going to run out, let it take time. There's no reason for it not to. I'd rather see someone take 2 years to build the perfect product that works, they've iterated on, than go to market with a product that's going to fail and they blow $100,000 going to market, or they spend $15,000 over the course of a couple of years for a really, really good product, for a really good product that's done with a professional. Now, it doesn't have to be me, right? I highly recommend if you choose to work with a professional that you talk with them. Schedule a meeting, schedule a Zoom call if they're not local to you. Understand they don't have to be local. It can be useful, but they don't have to be. You guys are in California. You got your pick of there are so many rapid prototyping companies in California. In fact, quite a few of them are my clients. We're the men, women, and others behind the curtain that make a lot of rapid prototyping companies succeed. We do a lot of 3D printing for other companies. But you have to look at what production looks like for you. If you are going to go to market, you have to make this decision early. Are you going to be domestic or are you going to go international? Remember, and attorney Seth Polanski said it. This happened, I think, 2 weeks ago on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/3D Musketeers. Like and subscribe, I think he's supposed to say as the YouTuber. China doesn't really care about your intellectual property, and you basically have no recourse to sue them. So be careful. Like, I'm going to be looking at doing manufacturing overseas for a product that I'm working on that I don't care if somebody else copies it. It doesn't matter to me because it's a very small piece to a much larger product that you're not going to know what it's for. If you do decide to go international, split up your jobs. Give part of it to one company, part of it to another company. And if you can, hire somebody locally to verify that they're not the same companies. It is very common, even here in the United States, for companies to set up multiple fake companies. And it's all the production's handled under one roof, but it might not seem like it. So you got to be careful about that because you don't want all of your IP under one roof, because if there is an IP theft problem, they have everything versus only a small amount of it. Domestically, expect to pay about 30 to 40% more. That's here in Florida. I don't know how it looks for you guys out in California, but I assume it's at least 15% more because I'm sorry, California. But domestic production means if you want, it's less than $500 generally to get in a car, hop on a plane, go out, watch your parts get made, watch them come off the line. And if you're nice enough, they let you push the buttons. The buttons are fun. Everybody likes buttons. If you're going to go to market, you have to look at packaging, size, marketing, logos. You might think, Grant, I've got the product done. It just needs to sell. No. If you have the world's most amazing product and it sits on a store shelf and looks like this, nobody's going to buy it. I can't even see what this is because the silica gel packet covers the freaking product. This is one of the many bad examples of crappy packaging that I have around here. I am the weird guy that goes to restaurants and takes to-go containers because one of my big markets is food packaging, and I like to see how they're made. I want to go to a store, and if you saw something like this on the store shelf, that might catch your eye. This is a Edison wax cylinder from the early 1900s and late 1800s. It's going to be for a friend's birthday. I'm sending it to him. I collect weird things. Leave me alone. But packaging matters because people don't read, they look. When you go out to a restaurant and they bring you out your food and it doesn't look appetizing, it's likely you're not going to like it. You might try and maybe you're open and it does taste good and you can get past it. But a lot of people will say, I don't like the way this looks. And you have preconceived notions as to what the food is going to taste like. That also occurs when you are going to market. People that are walking down the aisles of Walmart, Target, whatever, They're passing by logos, they're passing by brands. And if you can't stand out amongst the chaff, you ain't gonna sell jack. My name's not Jack, it's Grant. So can't help you sell jack. But that's why if you do decide you want to go to market, make sure you have a marketing team ready to go. People that you're paying a non-trivial amount of money to make these products for you, make them look pretty. Pretty matters a lot. A product with good marketing and a crappy product will sell millions. An amazing product with crappy marketing is not going to sell every time. And if you don't believe me, Yeti is the perfect example. They have not innovated on anything. It is a thermos. It has been around since the 1920s. It has been in the public domain since the 1940s. And all Yeti did was make it look cool. They put it in the hands of the proper influencers in the industries that they were going after. And boy, howdy, did it work. The $8 Ozark Trail clone of it generally will be within 5% of the effectiveness. But people will still buy it because of the branding. You can brand your stuff effectively, you've got a winner. And every inventor, every friggin' time, I want to go on Shark Tank. I want to be in front of Barbara Corcoran, Damon John, Mr. Wonderful, and whoever the fourth is. It varies from season to season. You probably don't. One, it's a lot harder to get in front of them now than it used to be. It's not just having a good product anymore for Shark Tank. You got to have the story that goes along with it. You got to look, we all have heard it. If it bleeds, it leads. You got to have the story that means you're going to get on national television. And as a lot of people have shown, even if you don't get a deal on Shark Tank, national television, pretty good way to get advertising. Just going to put that one out there. And it's not just the time that it shows the first time. It's the replays. It's the fact that it gets put on YouTube, probably from someone that stole it. It goes over and you end up with this kind of instant validation from the market. But getting onto Shark Tank is a lot tougher than you might think. And it's going to require you likely to stand in line for at least a day. But have your pitch down perfect. What you see is an edited and condensed, like I say, the sweetened condensed milk version of what should be the whole milk version of your pitch. I've worked enough in reality television. In fact, I've been on an episode of Tanked. If anyone wants to find that one, I was involved in the St. Leo Tanked episode. You can see me when I didn't have a beard, long hair, and was 185 pounds. I am none of those these days. Thanks. That was 2 days of filming they condensed into 20 minutes. Expect something similar from Shark Tank. And you don't get to choose how it gets edited. So somebody else tells the narrative of your company. So be careful about that. But how can I get funded, right? What's the best kind of money in the world? It's other people's money. I don't even need anybody to answer. It's other people's money. If I get to spend other people's money, it's my favorite kind of money to spend. Because generally speaking, there's a lot less risk from somebody else's money than mine. Caveat, bank loans and credit card. Do not fund your invention on a credit card. And any self-respecting product development firm that knows you're going into credit card debt should stop working with you immediately. It's bad news bears. Don't do it. Credit card debt is a great way to find yourself basically stuck in a hole that you can't dig yourself out of. You can get pretty decent bank loans these days, less than inflation's going to be, so it's effectively free money. That might not be a bad move if you're looking for it, but a lot of people look at VC and angel, VC being venture capitalist, angels being a little bit easier to deal with, but harder to get. Venture capitalists want a piece of the pie, but they also want to be involved heavily in the production of the product, whether it's a SaaS business, a physical product, textile, whatever. They want to be involved. An angel believes in you. They're a guardian angel. It's kind of where the name comes from. And they want to give you money. And they don't really want to be involved. Maybe they'll mentor you every now and then, but they really kind of want more of a hands-off. Angels generally take less percentage, but they're a lot harder to get because the first timers generally never succeed the first time with an angel. So angels will normally want to see your exit strategy. And if you say, I'm going to run this business for the rest of my life, you are never going to get venture capital funding. Because guess what? VCs and angels are not just throwing away money because they feel like it gives them the good feelings on the inside. They're doing it to make money. Remember, the first step of any business and the first goal, any for-profit business, is to make money. And that is what you are trying to do too, is what your investors are trying to do. And if you don't have a good pitch when you go to your investors, they're not going to give you money. We do have a VC panel, but you have to get through me. And I am a real pain in the keister to get through. And if you can convince me that I should invest in your company, then I'll open up my panel to you, of which Kevin Harrington happens to be on that panel. I like name dropping him. He's fun. He's local. I met him. He's a fun guy. I asked him to be on my VC panel. He's like, sure. What do I have to do? I said, just show up to a meeting like once a quarter, because that's as often as it's ever happened. It's like, okay, that's no problem. It was fun. And if you don't have a way to get money, you have to kind of choose. Are you going to try to do a 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9? Or are you just going to do it slower and maybe work a part-time job and slowly build your product rather than trying to push it out to the market quickly? You can also choose to bootstrap it, where you self-fund it. That's, of course, the most dangerous aspect, because if you do fail, that's money you've basically thrown away. That's why we say inventing is kind of like gambling. Only put in money you're willing to lose. And if you happen to win big, ride the jackpot all the way to the bank. So what's next? There's a lot here. There's a lot of things that come next. But what really the big thing is, it's get out there and make something. Start inventing. From day one, start writing down everything. And for the love of all things that are holy in your life, the poor man's patent is fake. It is not real. Don't mail yourself your ideas. Nobody's going to care about them. They are not admissible in court, and they will not count to anything. Don't even bother. But you have to kind of understand what your goal is from the beginning. Like any good business plan, you have to size up that target. We're not over here with a machine gun trying to hit a pea at 100 yards. We're going to use a sniper rifle, and we're going to hit it the first time every time. Now, if you're not the best and it's your first time behind the trigger, you might miss. That's okay. Reload, try it again. And eventually, you're going to get closer and closer and closer till you're hitting that target every friggin' time. And that target is money. We want you to make money. The goal of a product development company is to see your product out in the open. It's to see you launch on Kickstarter. It's a way to see you do all of these things. Kickstarter is a whole nother conversation. If you want me to get into it, ask. But I got some opinions. Yes, we know you have a lot of opinions. I know. But I got a lot of opinions about Kickstarter specifically. But we do make a lot of cool stuff here. Literally, our clients include the Smithsonian and Snoop Dogg. Hilariously, nobody ever calls me on the Smithsonian stuff. They call me on Snoop Dogg, so I always have Snoop Dogg near me. He sits in some bubble wrap next to my desk. Look, it's the guy from the photo, because it's me, the guy that took the photo. But there's Snoop Dogg. We've worked with a lot of, pretty amazing people. Snoop was actually one of my favorite clients, but not for the reason you might think. He was pure business, and it was a lot of fun working with him. The Smithsonian is absolutely my favorite client because it's a government credit card with no limit, and they just tell you to work. They don't tell you how many to make. They tell you when to start, and then they tell you when to stop. If you want to run 3 crews 24 hours a day, they'll pay for it. My favorite thing about working for the Smithsonian is that this man right here, Mr. Adam Savage, violated and voided the NDA that I had with the Smithsonian about these jobs. This was his video of a tour of the back of the Smithsonian and how they make artifacts that can be handled by humans, because you don't want to touch a multi-million-year-old hominid or version of previous humans. You want to do it with a 3D print. And we were providing those to the Smithsonian for many years. It's a lot of fun. I have a lot of Hamlet photos of myself holding skulls. It's cool. Or creepy. Depends on who you ask. But our goal is to get those ideas out of your noggin and into your hands. Because getting that first 3D print, getting that first CNC mill, getting that first textile product in your hands allows you to finally have that vision. The amount of people that I work with locally that have hugged me when I gave them their part and started crying is way more than I want it to be, but it is kind of sweet because they're finally seeing this lifelong dream be actualized. That's what any of us want to do. We want to help you reach your dreams. We want to help you reach your goals. And if you think that my company is one of those ones you want to work with, hit me up. Just info at 3dmusketeers.com. Just go to 3dmusketeers.com. All the information's on there that you need. But if you're not so sure and you want more information specifically about 3D printing, go to the YouTube channel. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of content. Whether it's time lapses, of which one was running behind me, it has now finished, or it's me talking about certain things in the industry, there's lots of information there. But we want to help you get started. And part of that means that I will offer a free meeting to anybody that wants to book it. You can book it right on my website. You don't even have to talk to me to book a meeting. It books right in my calendar. You pick a time that works for you, and we get to talk over the internet. It's fun. This process is complicated, and it's way more, what the heck, go away. It is way more complicated than I have in 45 minutes to explain to you the complete ins and outs. But I promise, with as much as I can promise to you, this process does not have to be as hard as you might think. It is absolutely as scary as you think. But if you have someone guiding you that's walked through it before, that's got the flashlight with 1 billion watts of power to shine light on the product development process, I think you'll be all right. Doesn't have to be me, but I do want to say, get out there and make awesome. That's what we do here at 3D Musketeers. I hope you guys will do it as well. This is normally a 45-minute presentation. It looks like I've done it in just a hair under 40. I am happy to take any questions that you all might have. So please feel free to unmute yourselves, ask anything. I am an absolute open book. I will talk to you about anything you want to know, including YouTube, if that's something you care to know about. The only thing I won't talk to you about are my margins. Thank you guys. My name's Grant. I hope you enjoyed this one.
Hello, Grant. Thank you so much for coming and explaining that to me. What about making your idea fit for an exit strategy? Because there's tons of ideas, like unlimited ideas, but making an idea that particularly fits what you're saying, is that a great way of thinking about it?
So be careful about designing a product that you're designing to exit from. You want the product to work first. If your exit strategy should be you sell it, you license it, or you go to market, and that's not an exit strategy, that's a production strategy. If your goal is to exit and take money with you, you don't want to go to market. You want to deal with kind of building the intellectual property and then going and selling that to somebody, at least your first couple of times. Then you can look at going to market and then selling the brand, the marketing behind it, and you sell that to a company that is looking to get into that vertical as a turnkey system. And what ends up happening is instead of exiting, you end up staying on for a year or two as a consultant, getting paid good money, by the way, to help make sure the transition is as seamless as functionally possible. But similarly to how if you are always looking for a problem to solve, you're never going to solve a problem but your own. Look for solutions to problems that make sense to you, but also make sense to others. Do not ask friends and family, unless you got friends and family that are kind of like me, the kind of person that doesn't really care what you think. They're here to help you. I don't care if I hurt your feelings generally. If I hurt your feelings and I kept you from making a massive financial mistake, then I've done my job. My job is not to coddle you. My job is to help you make money. And if I can stop you from losing money, that is just as good as helping you make money in the long run, as far as I'm concerned. It's still, net zero. I see we have a question in the chat. They're asking Mr. Waymer, kind of suave, I like it, is asking, so the 3D printer for 500 is the best? Technically, no. If we don't get it done professionally, I think you're asking which one is. For $500, I would go with the Prusa Mini. They're gonna run about $450 plus shipping and all that. Basically, it's $500 bill by the time you're done. You go up to prusa3d.com, and you should find it. Peter, if you want to post the link, you can. I don't want to be typing when I'm on mic. Peter knows all about Prusas. He knows my love for them. But I do really like their machines, and I think that they're very valuable. We have 30, well, I now have 42 printers. I just bought 3 more today. 13 of them are Prusas. 8 of them are like the ones you see behind me, and 4 are the minis. And if you are the type of person that wants to play around, mess around with the machines, do it. Totally fine with that. But understand that it might be a sunk cost for you. Don't expect it to be, you know, the silver bullet in product development. It's not. CAD is the hardest part of that process. The printer is what supports the engineering behind it all. Yes, I did, Peter. Thank you.
I have a quick question. You mentioned you have a lot of opinions about Kickstarter. Can you just real quick give us a snapshot of what you think about Kickstarter?
Sure. Kickstarter is a waste of your time and money. Kickstarter is so complicated. I am trying to get to interview a company that does Kickstarter marketing because they said something that really resonated hard with me. For every dollar that you spend on marketing for Kickstarter, you should expect about 30 cents of return. So let me be clear. You are throwing away 70 cents every single time you spend $1 marketing for Kickstarter. The goal with Kickstarter, unfortunately, is not what it used to be. Kickstarter used to be where you could be that tiny little person that wants to build a product, and people would just find you and they would give you money for the hope of maybe one day getting a product. Unfortunately, it has turned into big companies using Kickstarter as a marketing platform and understanding that the 12-ish% that Kickstarter takes is the cost of doing business. Understand that people that want to support you on Kickstarter are expecting to get it below retail. Why would I give you money up front if you're not going to give me a deal? Well, if I'm going to get a deal and your margins are razor thin as it is, you might be working for free or for nothing. The big problem with Kickstarter is not failure, it's success. A lot of initial inventors are not, under any circumstances, prepared to deal with economies of scale. If all of a sudden your product was to sell $6 million worth in 48 hours, what the absolute sin would you do? What if all of a sudden you have a product with an electronic board in it, and all of a sudden the chips are out of stock? Not like that's been a problem for the past 3 years. What the heck are you going to do? You have all of this money from people that are now going to ruin your name if you can't get them product. You got to go back to the drawing board, redesign around an entire new product, and hope that there is still enough money left over by the time you're done with all of that to still come out and break even. Unfortunately, Kickstarter, similar to the pipe dream of going to market, it's not what it used to be. It's not what it was supposed to be. And it's because Kickstarter got greedy. They were all about helping the young inventor, helping the first timer, the second timer, the third timer make it happen. Now they're all about collecting their nice, shiny money from big marketing companies like Anchor that released a 3D printer. Anchor is not a company that needs Kickstarter. They raised $8 million. $8 million. And if any one of us in this call, I'm going to paint with a broad brush. I'm sorry if you could handle this, but I would paint with a broad brush and say that everybody on this call could not handle a business that all of a sudden went from 0 to $8 million overnight. It is way more complicated than you think. Now, that's not saying not to try. It doesn't cost you anything to try, but don't throw in the towel if you don't succeed. Understand the cost. If you're close to your, like, let's say you have a $10,000 mark and you get to $9,800, spend the extra $200 out of your pocket. It's better to get some money than none at all, because Kickstarter is an all or nothing platform. You can look at ones like Indiegogo, where you get money no matter what. Of course, they take a better percentage. Crowdfunding is tough. If you don't have a sexy product, and sexy not in the traditional term, but sexy as in vast market approval, vast market saleability, absolutely a B2C product, not B2B, Kickstarter is going to be an uphill battle. Kickstarter is the Sisyphus school of product development. You're going to learn the hard way, and it's not always fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. hopefully that helps. I know that might not be the answer that people are looking for. It's a tough one. It's not to tell you not to do it. It's to tell you to be very cautious about how much time, effort, and money you're putting toward it.
Yeah, because you said it doesn't cost anything, but it does cost a lot of your time to get that to fund, because you've got to do a lot of pre-sale to get it to that point. So I was curious. That's why I asked you that question. I wondered if you were kind of on that same wavelength. And interesting, it's marketing. It's a good way to look at it.
And look, when you're just starting out, there's one thing you have an abundance of generally. It ain't money. It's never money. It's time. And if you have a marketing background, you know how to brand, you know how to create compelling videos that are going to bring people in, and you don't have to pay anybody else, freaking do it. If you can be your own marketing company, do it. But if you have to hire an outside company, that risk reward to me doesn't work. Not for your first time. If you got money to blow from previous inventions where you've made a bunch of money, blow it. Have fun. Take the risk. You only live once, as the kids say. But don't do that your first time, because you don't want to find yourself in a mountain of credit card debt. You don't want to be there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Peter's asking about thoughts on open source non-commercial as an alternative to patents. Oh, Peter, you kind of know my thoughts, but I think you're handing that one to me. Open source is complicated, and open source has been a big deal for 3D printing. In fact, the Prusa printers that I recommend are fully open source. If you wanted to go online and buy all the individual pieces to build it yourself, you should. You can. It's a pain in the butt, but you can. If you do buy a Prusa Mini, buy the mostly assembled kit. Don't buy the full kit. Don't buy the fully assembled. It takes like 45 minutes to assemble it. If you buy a Mark III's, buy the full kit. It's a lot of fun. The instructions are easy. Like, I've literally given them to interns and they can do it no problem. You can do it too. Open source with a non-commercial license has no, it has no meat to it. Creative Commons states that, you know, if your license says non-commercial, non-derivative, I can't change it and I can't sell it as a business. But there are no penalties for doing it. There is no way for you to prevent somebody from doing it. It's quite literally just like a gentleman's agreement, if you will. It's like locked doors only keep out honest thieves, because a non-honest thief is going to break a window because it's way easier than kicking in a door. All open source with like a non-commercial license does is keep the honest thieves at bay. That's all. It's not going to keep the ones that were going to steal your idea, because they're going to do it whether you did it or not. If you're worried about your idea getting stolen by doing a patent, keep it as a trade secret. And when you are ready, make sure that you've been filing provisionals, because sometimes USPTO sucks about this, but if your product is on the market already, they can actually see that your own product is prior art that could invalidate your own patent. I have seen this happen before. The USPTO kind of sucks. That's why I recommend having an attorney to do it. To me, the most troublesome process of this is the patenting, and why I say that inventors don't need patents, they need sales. Money is what makes the world go round. It's not love. It is money. It is also molten magma, from my understanding, and gravity. But money is what gets you to that next step. And if you're doing all this and you're working yourself to the bone, it ain't worth it. Find the way to cash out, get that money as quick as possible, move on to the next $1 million idea. Any other questions?
No, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Grant. This has been a great workshop, and you had so much amazing information and insight. And I wanted to ask, how long has Three Musketeers been in business? That was my question.
Sure. Yeah. So we officially incorporated 3D Musketeers December 31st, 2015.
Oh.
And for tax purposes, I didn't open the business until 2016. So I've been running 3D Musketeers now for 6 years. If we want to be really specific, it's probably about 4 because I tend to ignore the last 2 years as most people would want to. They have not been kind to businesses that rely on discretionary spending, but you improvise, adapt, and overcome. We recently added high-end 3D scanning as a feature, not a bug, to what we do here at 3DM. So it's about rolling with the punches. And as we see the economy, it's not gonna be doing great in my I am not a financial analyst. This is not financial advice. I don't think the market's going to sustain where it's at. Quite frankly, I think it's already starting to fall.
Mhm.
And if your business is not prepared to weather that storm, get out now. It's
Yeah.
not worth it. Or if you can shut it down and not have any expenses until we kind of figure out where the dust is going to settle, might be a little safer. But you got to be able to roll with those punches. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to turn around, know when to walk away, know when to run.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your words of wisdom and insight. And I'm going to stop the recording, but Grant's going to be around to answer any questions and say hi. Please stay by. And thank you so much. This has been awesome. Thanks.
Absolutely.
And also, don't forget to leave the feedback. There should be a link in the chat too as well.
Mhm. Thank you.